Oh, hello, my hearties. A very, very good evening to you and a very warm welcome to Scottie McCLUE's live stream. Great to have you with us, of course. Tuesday evening, nothing gets past me, and here we are live again now. I popped up this morning, random, just about 11:30, little bit of chit-chat, of course, just to see how everybody was, and a couple of very interesting things. One, I've taken 5 minutes out of it, well, 5 minutes, but I've taken 5 minutes out of it, so see if you can catch up with that. It's an absolute cracker, and we're talking about the whole monarchy thing in where Scotland to seriously look at becoming independent. So that's well worth a look. We're also trolled by a wee half-witted Ned this morning as well, so that was quite interesting. So there you go. So I can strongly advise that you take a wee switch at that. Fantastic. If you've just joined us, welcome, welcome, welcome. It's Scottie McCLUE here, the first lord of the internet, the world's top broadcaster, streaming live on YouTube just for you. That is the big one. Now then, who do we have with us? Let's have a wee look. Stephen Douglas, good evening, Scottie and everyone. I'm back. I hope all's well with you. Stay safe, Dinky-Doo. Liked and shared as per. Fantastic, Stephen. Welcome back. Nice to have you with us. Frank McElroy, good evening, Scottie. Good evening, Frank. I hope you're well and that you're enjoying the old podcasts, broadcasts, live streams, all these different things. Fantastic. And thank you all very much for putting up with stuff. I know you get a lot of stuff through from Scottie McCLUE, but it's all good stuff. Glenn, good evening, Scottie. Hope you're well. Excellent, Glenn. Lovely to have you back with us as well when we catch you up on the Skype at some point. Evening, Scottie. Hi, Scottie, says the wonderful Magnus. J-Dog. Dinky-Doo, Scottie, how are you? Excellent, J-Dog. How did the golf go this morning? Wonderful. Of course, we did an Instagram at Scottie McCLUE 1 and just as well. Fantastic stuff. Hi. Looking really smart tonight with your cardi shot and tie. My cardi shot and tie. Well, it's a mark of respect for who I'm going to see, and I'm coming to see you. Coming to see you. There we are. Is Skype turned on, Scottie? I'll just check, Glenn, what the situation is, if we've got any juice, and if we are turned on. Wait till we see. Yes, we appear to be turned on, Glenn. So I don't think that should be too much of a problem. What I have to... Oh, no. Now, wait till we see. We had new stuff arrived for the internet today. Oh, dear. Trust me, I forgot about the Skype machine will need to be sorted. That's not to say we can't do it in flight. So there we are. We might just do it in flight, Glenn, and get you on. Yes, Scottie, all podcasts are good. Love the uploads. I thank you very much, Frank. Very much appreciated. Great to see you doing 3 streams today. Busy day, J-Dog. No rest, I say, for old McCLUE. Famous person you've ever met, says Magnus. Yourself, Magnus, would be one of them. Who's the most famous person I've ever met? Oh, very, very, very famous people. Some of them I probably wouldn't even be so base as to name. You know, if it's very senior politicians or people like that, you know, very senior service officers, that kind of idea. I tend not to say names. In terms of the media, very often I'd be sitting in the studio and one of the top pop groups would be doing an interview with the DJ next door, you know, and they would come in for a bit of chat. Fantastic. Lovely stuff. Right. So there we are. Could you have met Peter Kay, Scottie? Oh, Peter Kay, one of my heroes. I'll tell you a lovely story. I was speaking once at, I think it was at Salford University. Speaking at Salford University, and one of the senior lecturers said, do you want to join us tonight, Scottie? We're going to see a young comedian who's very much up and coming called Peter Kay. And I said, I would love to do that, but I need to go and get ready for the show. And obviously it's difficult to leave the theatre at sort of, you know, 8:30 to stagger off down to Salford Quays for 10 p.m. sharp to do one of the biggest phone-ins in the UK. So I thought to myself, I'll have to say no. And of course, although I did have to be down there in time and probably couldn't have made it time-wise, I deeply, deeply regretted, because that would have been me seeing Peter Kay just before he hit the big time. Is that not amazing? Fantastic. So when would that be? Maybe in 1999 or something? Can't remember. So there we go. Sort of 21 years ago. Fantastic. But I am a massive, massive Peter Kay fan, because I just love what he does. His observational stuff, fantastic. And a smashing guy as well. The car journey. The car journey in the morning, I mean, how good is that? Wonderful. What was the new Vi thing you got? Oh, completely new hub. New hub and disc, J-Dog. So fantastic. So it's on and going. You mentioned about people mocking the monarchy. If anyone does, to all of them I say, you don't know your mocking history. Absolutely. Good for you, Frank. There shouldn't be any mocking of the monarchy. Anybody that wishes to discuss the monarchy, I can discuss every single aspect with them. There we are. Any faster speeds? Well, that's what I was saying to you this morning, J-Dog. I don't know if you picked up on it. It doesn't make a huge difference to the speeds. Apparently, I'm very far from the exchange. And that makes a difference. So my upload speeds are about 2.5 and my download about 15.5. Does that make sense? How is that for speeds? But what apparently it does do is steady the output down a wee bit. It's very much the latest stuff. And if the company are doing any works, I've said I would quite like to be informed, because that would be wonderful. See, I started with a superb product where you could actually, it was as if you were in the radio station itself. Just tremendous. And that was, 20 odd years ago, 25 years ago. But that product's no longer available. That's way, way, way being superseded. And in those days, VoIP, Voice over Internet Protocol, for those who are listening, didn't have the speeds. It has the speeds now. That's the thing. We've got the speeds. Fantastic. That's really quite slow for Wi-Fi upload and download speeds. I thought so, J-Dog, but apparently the company tell me, no mention, no pack drill, the company tell me that it's because I'm so far from the exchange, and there's nothing they can do about that. Got to go, Scottie. You know what time I'm up in the morning. Keep up the good streams, and we'll catch up very soon. Frank, have a lovely night in the land of Nod, and enjoy your work tomorrow. Enjoy every second of being you. It's a wonderful thing to be. So there we go. Off for dinner. Back soon. Speak soon. J-Dog, take great care of yourself. And Dinky-Doo. Once we get the RAM in, some more mem, we might help with the speeds as well. Won't change the internet speed, of course, but there we are. Have a lovely dinner, J-Dog, and thank you so much for joining us, Dinky-Doo. Now, who have we got? Now I'm not on the Earl Grey tonight. I'm on the Yorkshire. A very, very fine cup of tea. Oh, that's lush. And of course, it's just fresh made. Yeah, I've just made a brew, like, you know. Right. Now, what have we got here? We need to see what's what. Very, very important. Très important, I say. And we'll do a bit of sharing. We'll get that on the go as early as we possibly can. Wonderful. There might be football on tonight. Why on earth anybody would want to watch a football match when they can watch Scottie McCLUE? I don't know, but there we are. Anyway, it's telling everybody I'm live now, and we've got some very good connection speeds here. Wonderful. So we can probably get sharing as soon as possible, as quickly as possible, and get this show on the road. Wonderful. But tremendous amounts of people on the site today. What I couldn't understand, I found it very strange. Tremendous amount of people on the site, but they weren't all subscribing. How strange is that? Internationals, Scottie, is that what's going on, Glenn? Well, McCLUE is international. This is bigger than any football game, so people can surely record these things and watch them and catch up. So there, did Johnson make your tea? Johnson made the tea. Thank you for the tea, Johnson. Not at all, sir. There we are. He's delighted. Excellent. He's absolutely delighted. There we go. So that's what's going on tonight, is it, Glenn? Aha. That would account for the poor turnout at Scottie McCLUE, because people have got it into their head that football's more important than McCLUE. News flash. Yes, absolutely. Once society thinks football's more important than Scottie McCLUE, society has a problem. A big problem. Wonderful. Right, we'll just get this done. This is a job the wizard will do when we become very, very, very successful on the big streams. And we'll get the wizard onto this. A bit of training. The wizard will be absolutely fine. Wizard of the big streams. I've had some fantastic wizards. Very, 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 very skilled. Technically, radio-wise, knowing their stuff, great with the phones, what have you. And some lovable lassies on the big switchboard. Tell Johnson I said hi. Johnson! Yes, sir. Johnson, Glenn from Sheffield, actually, in the Midlands now, says hi. Very good, sir. He says very good. She says very good. So there we are. I think that's excellent. There we are. We've said hi to Johnson the butler. Let him know that McCLUE is live. Dinky-Doo. Wonderful. Imagine watching football instead of Scottie McCLUE. The country's gone to the dogs. Ridiculous. Gone to the dogs. Let's see what I just did there. Wonderful. Now, what I'm going to do, guys, if you have got a Reddit account, please go on and follow Scottie McCLUE on Reddit and give me some of your karma. Apparently you need a bit of karma to get going, so that's what I've said. So just said we'll go on and live now. Wonderful. I'll paste that too. I think that's quite good. There we go. That's to let everybody know what is what. How's your Mrs. Scottie? The Mrs. is wonderful. Yes, she's working away. She's labouring in the Lord's vineyards. So there we are. She's working away is the Mrs. Excellent stuff. That's what we like, Glenn. You know, very good shit. They never stop, you know. If you get a good one, they never stop. And of course, Johnson's around to help out with the tricky bits, Glenn. You know what I'm saying? Wonderful stuff. Have we got enough light? Do we need more light? Does that help? Is that better? I never know about how much light we actually need. How much light do you like? So wonderful stuff. Thank you for asking, Glenn. How are you, Glenn? How's your missus and everything? Is all well in the land of Glenn? That's what we need to know. Is all well in the land of Glenn? Wonderful. Frank's away to the land of Nod. He's up early in the morning. So we want that to be okay for him. Wonderful stuff. So quite a few streams today. As I say, we had one on, whoa. There we are. I'll just post all this stuff and get it out there. I'm going to post on the Scottie McCLUE big page. I think that's always a good idea. And let everybody know what's happening. And we got a bit of, can we cut ourselves some slack here with regards to posting? That would be a help, wouldn't it? Cut ourselves some slack with regards to posting. What we might do, I'll speak to J-Dog when he comes back, but what we might do, of course, is look at if we can get several streams running at the one time once we get everything updated. So there we go, get several things running at the one time. Have I got that right? Yes, of course you have. Lovely. Right, that's out there. That will let people know what's what. Scottie, has Johnson been knighted? And you, everyone is good. No, I checked the Queen's Birthday Honours, which of course were delayed because of COVID and just came out at the weekend there. And I would have thought Johnson may have got himself maybe something like a British Empire Medal. That would have been quite good, you know, that sort of idea. and I checked to see if Scottie McCLUE had got his GCVO, but there was nothing. So there we go. So I don't know if the word didn't get through or what have you. A GCVO, that's the one for McCLUE, I would have said, but I would never be so base as to suggest anything to anyone. You know, but that's the only one I think McCLUE would think, oh, wow. You know, because that personally comes from Her Majesty the Queen. So there we are. Fantastic. That is indeed an honour. You do know about the honour system, of course. I'll explain it to you because it's another one that the half-witted Nedheads tend to sort of start spitting about when it comes out. So I'll explain to you about how that works. And that might just sober a few people up. Yes, that's how that works. So the honour system was introduced to bring the people closer to the palace. So for the first time ever, it wasn't just a chosen knight who had fought alongside the king in battle that got the honours and the land. It was ordinary people doing a wonderful job. So that's why the honour system was introduced. And you have several branches of it, of course. You've got the Knights of the Garter, St George's Chapel, Windsor Castle. You've got the Knights of the Thistle, St Giles, Edinburgh. And there's about 16 Thistle Knights. So you have to wait till there's a wee space before you get one of those. But both Lord Reith and the late Chips MacLean, Sir Charles MacLean of Duart, were Knights of the Thistle. They were KT, right? Knights of the Garter would be KG. So Prince Philip, for instance, would be His Royal Highness the Duke of Edinburgh, KGKT. And then, of course, if you want to go on typing, a list as long as your arm and more. So there we are, fantastic stuff. But that's His Royal Highness the Duke of Edinburgh, KGKT. Then there's the Royal Victorian Order. That's in the gift of the Queen. And you can have an LVO, a lieutenant of the order, an MVO, a member, a CVO, a commander, a KCVO, a knight commander, and you can have a GCVO, a Knight Grand Cross. There we are, and that's the biggie. That's an absolute cracker. That's a belter. And then, of course, you've got orders for military orders as well. You can get military orders. You could get the Order of the Bath, a KCB, that sort of idea. You could have a Companion of the Bath, a CB. So there we are. You can have a CH, a Companion of Honour. Very often your top musicians get something like that. You can then have the Order of the British Empire. Now, I haven't seen one for a while, but you can get a KBE, you know, so a Knight of the British Empire. You can get a CBE, a Commander of the British Empire. That's one below a knighthood. You can get an OBE, an Officer of the British Empire, and you can get an MBE, a Member of the Order of the British Empire. And of course, the British Empire is virtually no more, but these are good orders for people to get. So that's the kind of thing that's out there. Fantastic. Scottie, there's no such thing as normal, is there? No, there's not, because normal is one of these strange words like nice. So it's very difficult to quantify. Say, oh no, he's a nice chap. You know, that sort of idea. He's a nice chap. Got your tie and shirt on, Scottie? Could get the regular watchers in your stream to come up and screen maybe an idea for J-Dog. Robert Scrimger, if they wanted. Now, there was a thing for a while streaming. I think it may have been on Facebook, and you could join somebody. They could come on and have a chit-chat. But the only thing is it has to be people that I trust to behave when they come on. You know, you can't have your wee Nedheads on. So there we are. Unless they were very switched on people, they decided they were switched on. There we go. We drink of tea from McCLUE. You know, I've just popped up for a couple of seconds and we've been on for 20 minutes. What's one man's meat is another man's poison. Oh, now, Glenn, now you're talking. That's the one. That's one of these crackers, isn't it? All right, one man's meat's another man's poison. So there you are. So something that's good for one person is not good for another person. Not at all. Do we have an example? What would be an example of that one, Glenn? We need to have an example. So they are one man's meat is another man's poison. So there we go. Wonderful. Now then, what's happening in the real world? What are we thinking of what's going on with lockdown 2? Is that what's going to happen? Do tell, I say. I'm going to do some more sharing here because I feel it's the right thing to do. So there we are. It's the right thing to do is to let people know we're on. Otherwise, you can't expect them to. I mean, there will be people watching football, but that's fine. But, I mean, why would you watch football when Scottie McClue's live? If you've just joined us, I am Scottie McCLUE, First Lord of the Internet, the world's top broadcaster, the world's most humble man, and we are live streaming on YouTube just for you and saying Dinky-Doo. Huge, huge numbers visiting Scottie McClue's YouTube channel, guys. But I do need to get them on and subscribing. Very, very important. We need to get them on subscribing. So think about that. So any sharing you can do, any telling people. Finlay Morris says hi. Hello, Finlay. Lovely to have you with us. And Dinky-Doo. I'll just tell everybody we're live now. Live now. There we are. And I'll say that I'm live at youtube.com/user/Scottie McCLUE 1. That's the important stuff. Scottie McCLUE 1 for YouTube. YouTube.com, user Scottie McCLUE 1. Get yourselves on there. Somebody must have pinched Scottie McCLUE when we were setting it up. Just not thinking about it, you know. And that's what happens. You've got to stay up there. Yes, you've got to keep your wits about you, haven't you? Very, very important. Right. Now, what do I have here? A wee hashtag. I'll include football in the hashtag just to let people know that we are live and we're hashtagging them. Very, very important. You see, it's all this now. We didn't used to have any of this on the phone in at all. You didn't talk about going live and tweeting, and you didn't talk about posting. You didn't talk about hashtags. None of it existed. You know, none of it existed at all. But what we're hoping to do is multi-streaming, guys. So get it on Facebook as well. That sort of idea, and see how that goes for you. Right, just going to post there. Wonderful. Might actually see if we can get some people on live on Facebook and they can join us. Was there a lockdown during the Spanish flu pandemic, the Asian flu pandemic? I think this is the first lockdown in history. Yeah, but I think that's because they don't know what this is. You know, the epidemiologists. I mean, epidemiology, it'll go back a fair old while. But remember, allopathic medicine, although it has developed, it's not in the finest shape for new stuff coming in. Hi, Scottie. It is Anna's funeral tomorrow, so that is sad. Oh, Linda Thane, thank you so much for telling us. Ladies and gentlemen, guys, if you're watching, Anna, one of the loveliest ladies on the planet, who used to come on to Scottie McClue's nighttime phone-in on Nation Radio. And I've known Anna for years and years before that. She was big in showbiz. She was your original supermodel. And you'd see Anna modeling all sorts of high-quality stuff in the big glossy magazines. That was Anna, and she was a lovely, lovely person. And I remember meeting her backstage at a party after the final performance of Francie and Josie by Ricky Fulton and Jack Milroy. And Anna was there, and we had a good chat. Fantastic stuff. So I was so sorry to hear that Anna had passed away. And that's Linda, the wonderful Linda, our top accordionist, who was just letting us all know. Thank you for that, Linda. Very, very much appreciated. And I don't know if you're able to attend, Linda, but through the ether, McCLUE will be there in spirit, sending love to Anna. And to her lovely family, please tell them I'm asking for them kindly. Thank you. Bless them. Lovely, lovely people. So that's that. Thank you for that, Linda. Appreciated. Very much appreciated. Now, what have I missed? Says Finlay Morris. You have missed massive, massive amounts of chat, Finlay. I popped up this morning on YouTube to test some new equipment, and we got trolled by a wee Ned. So there you are. So you can see that. You can look back, look for this morning's performance, the 13th. I'll put this, that this one was 8 p.m. so that everybody knows. Tremendous stuff. And we took 5 minutes of it, and it is absolute dynamite. I was talking about the monarchy. Should we approach an independent Scotland? What would be the situation with the monarchy? And of course, the status quo, but with a lot of half-witted idiots who are calling themselves separatists and nationalists, who will say, a republic. Not going to happen. Hello. News flash. You never, ever rise against the crown. You go with the crown. That's our symbol of authority. Fantastic. So there we go. And of course, very Scottish. So we're talking about that, Finlay. Very important. Because who knows? I mean, after all this, Scotland may well quite seriously want to go out on its own, go back to being independent as we were prior to 1707. There we are. But the only problem is there was all sorts of problems in 1707, and the nobles were fighting each other. You know, in the end, you had the problems with the Darien scheme, the Darien scheme out in South America. Well, Panama, wasn't it? The Isthmus of Panama. Have you heard the standard of television announcing these days? Tot, tot, tottity, tot, 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 tot. I see. Oh, dear. Scottie, when do you think the pandemic will come to a standstill? When it burns itself out, Glenn? When people do the right thing and stop forming human bridges? So anybody going, I'll not be doing that, that's your idiot. That's your dafty. All right? So let them stay clear, and then the virus just cannot transmit. It cannot go from one person to another. It cannot transcend. There we are. Scottie, I lost you. Did you get my message about Anna's funeral tomorrow? I did, and I've just paid tribute, Linda, and I'll put it up. I got your message, and I took the 5-minute segment. So we've mentioned Anna, and if you can very fondly, if you're in touch with her family, please pass on my fondest, best wishes to them. And we give thanks for the lovely Anna. And I've spoken about her, Linda, because Anna was your original supermodel, you know. Wonderful, wonderful person. There we are. And a great friend to Kate and Ricky, Kate Matheson, and Ricky Fulton and Jack and Mary Lee. Can we sort out the wee Republican dafties later on? Get the independence first. Get the independence first, then you can sort out the anti-monarchists. Robert, that's your problem. You can't do it that way. If you think about it, put yourself in the position of Her Majesty the Queen, right? Now, Scotland is going to go independent, but it needs her say-so. Your Scottish Parliament is there by permission of Her Gracious Majesty the Queen. She has also granted the people of Scotland parliamentary sovereignty. Have we got that? Parliamentary sovereignty. Not easy to say. And thank goodness I don't have a sherry in me. But, she's granted that to the Scottish people via their chosen elected representatives. So it's a huge business. Huge thing to be doing. Now, she is still sovereign. She's the head of state in Scotland. So the Scottish head of state should just transfer in its entirety to the new independent Scotland. Now, if Scotland wants to go independent, it's going to have to get a new Scotland bill. When the bill goes through Parliament, it can only become an act with royal assent. In other words, if the Queen agrees and also puts her signature to it. All right? So that's the only way Scotland could become independent. Now, if you've got a lot of half-witted, Ned-headed idiots shouting, Republic, Republic, if I was Her Majesty the Queen, I would say, well, forget that. Do you see what I mean? Now, we don't want that because there is a huge push for Scotland to become independent. I think 60% was the last reliable poll. Okay? Now, also the Scottish people are fly for Westminster trying to hang on to Scotland. Yes? So they're not going to be fooled by senior politicians coming in giving promises. Okay? So you can forget that. So that's the thing there. So there needs to be a lot of negotiation. It needs to be done properly, but at the end of the day, it's not political, it's economic. Scotland needs to be able to hang on to its own income, and if companies account in Scotland, then they also have to, if they operate in Scotland, they also have to account in Scotland and not somewhere offshore. All right, so the money stays in Scotland. I'll give you the best example of it. If you say you had a big supermarket that was owned out with Scotland but serving the Scottish people, and they took all their money, all the money given to them, hard-earned cash by the Scottish people, and they just took it away, which is what's actually been happening, then that's removing that from the Scottish economy. And places like Glasgow, Edinburgh, Paisley, Kilmarnock, Harthill, Aberdeen, Dundee get poorer. Greenock, Helensburgh, right, Dumbarton, they all get poorer as a result of that. Now, think about it. In every town and village in Scotland, you had the local bank. All the banks were Scottish owned, right? So all the banks were Scottish owned. The media was Scottish owned, right? So you had all that. And all the newspapers, Scottish owned. And the businesses, Scottish owned. What am I going to say next? Scottish owned. So you had all that. Scotland even had its own stock market. You know, Stock Exchange Square in the centre of Glasgow. You can still see the stock market, the Scottish stock market. So a very, very wealthy country, money pouring in from sugar, from ships, from tobacco, from whiskey, from beer, from wool, from manufacturing, from engineering, from mining, from steelworks, all pouring into the Scottish exchequer. Well, it was going to Westminster's exchequer, but it was coming from Scotland, right? The second city of the empire, Glasgow. Yeah. Glasgow controlling the whole tobacco trade. I know it's not popular at the moment because of the slavery connection, but nevertheless, it did. And the tobacco barons, yes, nevertheless, it did happen. So you've got all that going on. Now, all that money that we were paying, you went and you shopped at the butcher, at the baker, at the candlestick maker, at the saddler, at the hardware shop, at the, what else? Everything else, right? The clothing shop, yes, Scottish wool, all that stuff. Stuff that's closing down and has been over the years because we don't have control of our own economy. So all the money earned by a business used to go back into the community, back into the thing. So say you all went down the pub and spent your wages. The publican was a local person who would be spending them back at the local shops, the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker, giving it to a Scottish brewer and a Scottish distiller, giving it to a Scottish tobacconist when you had fags for sale in pubs, all that sort of idea. Yes, the Scottish fag factories, not good for your health, but they were there, they were existing. Who can remember the great big ones down in the East End there? Fantastic. So that was it. So you had a huge economy running in Scotland. Car manufacturers, Linwood, yes, you know, that was your latest one. Before that, you had Arroll Johnson. Before that, you had Argyll that went bust during the First World War. And you can still see the frontispiece in Alexandria. It became a torpedo factory. And then the canals, the Forth and Clyde Canal running along there. The River Leven, huge. Shipbuilding, Scott Lithgow, Denny's. You know, before that, Lithgow's, Scott's. Yes, before that, Cairds, all these yards. Fantastic. Seath's of Rutherglen. Tremendous, never ending. There's Scotland for you. Now then, we can sort out, so in answer to your question, Robert Scrimger, sorry about that little rant there. Well, I'm delighted. You can't sort the anti-monarchists out. You've got to sort them out first. Explain to them that we're having a monarchy, that one is political, one's apolitical. So independence is political and economic. I'm apolitical. I'm not a political animal, as you all well know. But, you know, economics, basic economics, Scotland needs a wee top-up with the cash. Nationwide coin hunt. Hello, Scottie. Scottie, I worship everything the Queen represents to the nation. She is amazing. Glenn Peacock, you are 100% correct, because the royal family bring in fortunes. So the half-witted, Ned-headed idiot that goes on about, of course, the money comes in from the monarchy. About £2 billion personally the monarchy bring in. And then you've got maybe another 210 billion of tourism that comes into this country. So big, big, big money. Big money. Good evening, Scottie. Dinky-Doo, everyone. Craig Cochrane, Dinky-Doo. Lovely to have you with us, and a very warm welcome. So much to talk about, so little time to do it in. I need to post this, guys. I'm supposed to be sharing. What are you like? What are you all like, for goodness sake? Right, there we are. That'll let people know that we're live. Live now, I say. And if anybody else, can we have a massive share from everybody, please? Huge share. A share, sharity share. Right, that's the stuff to give them. Now then, got notifications about a pop-up earlier, but missed it, as I've not had the best of days. How were the numbers? Numbers were excellent, Craig. And Craig, you need to watch that pop-up because it is dynamite, right? And I've taken out 5 minutes. If you haven't time to watch the whole pop-up, watch the 5 minutes, yes? And see what's what. Watch one of the segments. Because what I've been doing, I've been dividing the programs into segments as well as the main show. And I had somebody soul the other day going, we don't just want 5 minutes of you. We want the whole show, 2 hours. It's there, you know, news flash. Liked and shared as always, Scottie. Job done. I hope you're well, Craig Cochrane. I send you strength. Scottie, take a deep breath. That's what I call a breath. That's intercostal diaphragmatic breathing. What about that, Glenn? There you go. All top singers do it. They could tell you all about it. My friend disagreed that the Queen was a public servant, Scottie. I just couldn't understand that argument. For goodness sake, Robert Scrimger. The Queen's been a public servant virtually since birth, appearing in photographs with her grandfather, George V, her grandmother, Queen Mary, you know, that sort of stuff. She missed her great-grandmother, Queen Alexandra, who was absolutely a honey. She was fantastic. So there you are. So the Queen's been doing that. She's been a public servant for 94 years. And it's absolutely incredible that what age was she when she took over? So 1953, she was born in 26, so she was 1946. So she was 27 when she became queen, is that right? 26 when she became queen. Her father died, yes. She'd be 26 when George VI died at the age of 56 in his sleep. He's a wonderful man. So there we are. We need sovereignty. At the end of the day now, we've left Europe more than ever. People think, sorry, I'll read this again, Robert Scrimger. We need sovereignty. End of the day now, we've left Europe more than ever. Yes, absolutely. People think they just live in their palaces and do nothing. They virtually don't get any time in their palaces, and they're not actually their palaces. They're our palaces. They belong to the state, with the exception of places like Balmoral and Sandringham, which are private houses and tend to be passed on to the monarch of the day. Dinky-Doo the news, Scottie. Eddie Doyle, top man. Lovely to have you with us. And Dinky-Doo. No, listen. Most mornings the Queen would be wakened at about 5:30. Oh, good morning. Morning, Your Majesty. Where are we going today? It's Manchester, isn't it? Manchester, Your Majesty. Cup of tea there for you, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you very much indeed. Newspapers, ma'am. Yes, thank you very much indeed. And then up, off, looking the part, off to Manchester with her ADC. Tremendous. Maybe a train journey, maybe helicopter, plane, whatever. And then into something huge. This building was opened by Her Majesty the Queen. Fantastic. There you are. You see, very, very hard working. She's still, even with COVID and everything, apparently she's still putting in a full shift. So she'll get her red boxes with all the information as to what's going on for the head of state. The box will be marked Her Majesty the Queen. So there we are. I would think that would be the setup. Dinky-Doo, I'm back. J-Dog Gaming, excellent. Here's the wonderful Gordon Robertson. Welcome back, J-Dog. J-Dog, we've got some interesting stuff. Eddie Doll says, Scottie, did you watch the new episode of Inside Central Station last night? Now, are they new ones? Because I'd love to see that. Because the thing about the Central Station, there's a lot more to it than you might think. When you're coming off a train, you'll see a set of railings in the middle of some of the platforms. That's down to other stuff. So there we are. Fantastic. Welcome back, J-Dog. Gordon Robertson says, the wonderful Gordon Robertson, who was in the park this morning, the Botanic Gardens. Did you like the wee story about the Kibble Palace, Gordon? There's something you probably knew all that, I would think. So what are we getting here? I've just joined and thought the stream had frozen, but no, you were just holding your breath. Good evening. Would be rude not to say that. It'd be very rude, Gordon, and you're not a rude man. You may be many things, but you're certainly not rude. There we are. Very fine gentleman. Very refined manners. Very important, I would say. Now, talking of which, what were we talking about there? Oh, yes. No, I wasn't holding my breath, Gordon. Glenn had asked me to take a breath. So what I was doing was breathing in. So the length of time I went silent was me taking in air. And I store it in my diaphragm, intercostal diaphragmatic breathing, because I trained as a singer. Yes, so there you are, as well as an actor. And it's very good, of course, for acting, intercostal diaphragmatic breathing. If you, for instance, had one of the great Shakespeare prologues to do, you would need your intercostal diaphragmatic breathing, as you know, Gordon. There we are. Oh, for a muse of fire that would ascend the brightest heaven of invention. A kingdom for a stage princess to act, and monarchs to behold the swelling scene. Then should the warlike Harry, like himself, assume the port of Mars, and at his heels, leashed in like hounds, should famine, sword, and fire crouch for employment. Then it changes temper, but pardon, yes, it is lovely. On whose unraised spirits our imaginary forces work. Think when we talk of horses that you see them printing their proud hooves in the receiving earth. It's wonderful, isn't it? Oh, a little bit of Shakespeare for you all there. People define public servants differently, don't they? Someone who washes the bins and feeds the homeless. They think they're more public servants than the Queen. Well, you see, this is very, very interesting, as all the stuff you raise is Robert Scrimger, one of our distinguished members of the Scottie McCLUE live stream. What you've got is a perfect example. The bin men, I don't know why people pick the bin men as supposedly at the bottom of some kind of pyramid, because they're not. The bin men are vital, or we'd all die of disease, right? It wouldn't just be COVID that we'd be getting us, it would be cholera and typhoid and tuberculosis and polio and all these sort of things, diphtheria, measles, mumps, rubella. It would be all that sort of stuff that would be getting us if we didn't have the bin men. So the bin men are pivotal in society. I love my bin men. I know them personally. I try and have a chat with them if I coincide with them early in the morning and we get a wee bit of blather. Always like a wee flash of the headlights and a wave, and sometimes a wee chat. So there we are. Wonderful stuff. I don't want to hold them up because they're extremely busy people, but there is no difference in terms of public servant between the bin men and Her Majesty the Queen. A public servant is a public servant. A civil servant is a civil servant. But Her Majesty's brief is different. It's to run the country and its protectorates and its colonies, and she is Her Britannic Majesty. All right. So her brief is different. It's a huge, huge, huge responsibility. And the royal family, particularly Her Majesty the Queen, they are an absolute screaming bargain in financial terms because they're virtually self-financing. So Her Majesty the Queen, her income, which has dropped due to COVID like everyone else's, her income comes from the Duchy of Lancaster, of which the Chancellor is a well-known politician. In fact, I think, I know who the Chancellor of the Duchy of Lancaster is. Yes, Michael Gove, I think, is the Chancellor of the Duchy of Lancaster at the moment. Then His Royal Highness, so the heir to the throne, the Prince of Wales, his income comes from the Duchy of Cornwall, and that runs all the offices and their share of the big houses and all that sort of stuff. And then, so we don't have to pay out at all as taxpayers there. So the maximum you're paying for the monarchy would be about 50, 60 pence a year, that kind of thing. A screaming bargain, because if we had a chief executive running this country and they demanded maybe, they said, my salary will be 20 million. you wouldn't get Her Majesty the Queen, you would get this chief executive, and they wouldn't be able to turn in anything like Her Majesty the Queen does. And of course, thanks to Prince Philip and her family as well. Video and audio are first class tonight. Gordon Robertson, thank you for saying that, because new equipment arrived this morning. Is it slightly better than usual, would you say, Gordon? Yes, I don't think my speeds are up, but partly it makes for a much steadier stream. It was there for generations, I meant. Eddie Doyle, Scottie. I watched a documentary about Paddy's Market closing. That was there for generations. Do you think it should have closed? It's always sad when something like that happens, but there was a time when these things weren't there. And called Paddy's Market would be not terribly popular nowadays, but of course it would be our Irish immigrants who set it up so that people would get a reasonable price. People that understood. You see, there's a kind of social history of the best understanders of ordinary people are the people themselves. And if anybody asks me, was I very proud of anything I've achieved in my life or my career, I would say it's the fact that all my knowledge and information, education, advice is about ordinary people like you and I. And that's the difference. And I'm very proud of that. I don't have any side to me. I have met the so-called highest people in the land. I have met the so-called ordinary folk. I have met people who are very, very challenged, and hopefully been able to help them a bit, or done my best, and that sort of thing. And that's what I think should be required of all of us. So I would like to think that McCLUE is a public servant. All right, there we are. But it's up to you, because you are the public. Do you like David Attenborough, Scottie? I was watching his latest series on Netflix last night. I don't just like David Attenborough. I adore him. And I adore him for what he's done in his life. And I adore him because he's also a lovely guy, a super guy. And I loved his brother, Dickie, Richard Attenborough, the actor, who was founded Capital Radio and was the first chairman of Capital Radio. And there's a lovely story that when Capital Radio was being set up, because it was a bit delayed getting everything off the ground, and there was huge money involved, and the bank manager was getting anxious. So he called Richard Attenborough in. And Richard Attenborough was like the director of Gandhi and things like that. And he called Richard Attenborough in and he said, look, getting a bit worried here. I don't think I can give you any more money at the moment because you're obviously not on air and making the progress that you should be making. And it's a bit of a risk. And we don't have any collateral. We don't have any security in place, So Richard Attenborough said, leave this with me. And he went to his house and collected a rather valuable painting that he owned. And he took it round to the bank manager. And he said, would this be sufficient security for you? And the bank manager took a look at it and apparently broke into a smile and said, the money's there. Hang on to your painting. And that was it. And so David, of course, now David could probably have been the Director General of the BBC, but he didn't want that. He wanted to spend time with his animals. David Attenborough, when I was young, was the first controller of BBC Two television. Yes? So he's a top media guy. But he wanted to spend time with his animals. And who can forget, try and find it, David Attenborough lying in the jungle with a huge silverback gorilla with its arm round him. And he goes, I'm talking quietly because I don't want to upset him. That sort of thing. So you'll see it. You're bound to see this on YouTube. Put in David Attenborough, Silverback Gorilla. Wonderful, wonderful. And these were moments that, for a young guy, when I was young, it was just so exciting to even see these things. And the creatures that he found, flying green tree frogs and things that had evolved. And now, of course, he's imparting huge, huge wisdom, and we should really, really listen to him about the future of the planet. And I love when he does sort of commentaries. A kind of example would be, nothing is stirring in the frozen wasteland of the Arctic. Across the white tundra, suddenly there is a small movement. It's the one occupant, the Arctic fox. Stuff like that, when he does these sort of things, I love it. I get goosebumps, like, whoa, you know. So there you are. So I don't know if that answers your question. Do I like David Attenborough? But there you are. Also loved the Barras and the Brigates. Absolutely, Eddie Doyle. Great Glasgow traditions. You'll get it at the Barras. And which one of us has not been excited going to the Barras and the Brigade? Another wonderful institution down in the East End there is the Forge Market. I opened the Forge Market 25 years ago, about a fortnight ago. Fantastic stuff. So there we are, wonderful. Scottie, where's this year gone? It's gone ever so quick. Well, of course, Glenn, we were in lockdown for almost 6 months, weren't we? 5 months of lockdown. I think it's amazing that David Attenborough's still doing these programs at top level at his age. What is he? Is he 90, 94 or something like that? Make sure to clip the David Attenborough. So there we are. Wonderful. I'll just do it now. Of tonight's stream. Wonderful. We love David Attenborough. So there we are. I can't think of anybody that doesn't love it, including, he met Her Majesty the Queen and they were just walking in the gardens of Buckingham Palace, just chatting away. Wonderful. Yes, he's 94. 94 now, that's amazing. So I hope McCLUE is still live streaming at 94. That gives us, at least another 30 years, guys. Tut, tut, tuttity, tut. I don't wish to spoil your evening, but there you go. 30 years of McCLUE. Wonderful stuff. David Attenborough and the Queen are the same age. Yes, Gordon, you're 100% correct. She is indeed 94. And her dear husband, Prince Philip, is 99. He's in his 100th year. Scottie, Fred Dibner was a character. Fred was a fantastic character, Eddie, and I was down in Lancashire. He was in Bolton. And I was down in Lancashire. He was the steeplejack in Bolton. What a knowledgeable guy. He just knew about all these wonderful things. It reminded me a bit of my father. My father was like that. My father was an engineer and a violinist, stuff like that. And of course, Fred's huge steam engines. Now, I had an old friend. I wanted to meet Fred, but I didn't quite manage to do that. But I had an old friend who had a traction engine, a huge traction engine. And we were talking to him about it one day and we said, about the maneuverability of this huge beast. And my friend said to him, what would happen if, say, you were, thundering down the street and a dog ran out in front of you? Could you stop in time? And he went, well, you might have a flat dog. Now, I don't mean that in any cruel way. It was just a funny answer, Well, you might have a flat dog, because this was a steam road roller. And in actual fact, in truth, I think he was just having a bit of dramatic chat because I think they were actually very maneuverable. Maybe not on the steering, because that's what we're talking about. Could you swerve to avoid the dog? But I think we were talking about the speeds, because I've seen them at fairs, at steam fairs, and kids running about, running in front of them and things, and they can slow right down. You can get a steam engine right down. I don't know how low you could get a steam engine revolution-wise, but you could certainly get a steam engine down a fair bit. I can remember a lovely old Kelvin diesel engine, a K4, and you could get it down to 120 revs a minute, 2 tons per second. And I remember one day we were going into the pier, and this thing was doing about 120 revs a minute. Suddenly it went, oh, the engine stopped. Scottie, when you're next, I don't know, Glenn, we'll see if we can do some stuff tomorrow perhaps. Multi-streaming should be good with the new RAM. Just make sure you have a steady Wi-Fi connection so it doesn't suddenly disconnect. Now, J-Dog, apparently, although the speeds aren't going to be much different, the connection is far more steady with the new gear. So I hope tonight has been good. When we get the RAM, we'll try the multi-streaming, see how we go. You're a top man. Every single one of you, fantastic people. Thanks for joining us tonight. So there we are. Wonderful, wonderful stuff. And lots to talk about. Never a dull moment, I say. So make sure you join us every single time you see McCLUE pop up. Go, that'll do me, Scottie McCLUE Live. Remember to share and share and share as if you were just going daft, because that's the big one. That's it. Let everybody know that Scottie McCLUE is on, and we will build and they will come. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. This is Scottie McCLUE saying to every single one of you, Dinky-Doo. Take care, Scottie. Dinky-Doo. Stay safe, big man. You might want to consider getting a Wi-Fi signal adapter. I have the very thing. It came with the equipment, J-Dog. When they resurface a pavement, what purpose does the wee white stones serve? Are they functional or just cosmetic? I think they stop you going on your halfpenny, to be quite honest with you. When you're next, hopefully we'll do something tomorrow, Gordon. I'll try and give some warning, but sometimes we like to just, pop up. Bye-bye. So take care of yourselves, and ta-ra, Lars.